The purpose of this book is to explain what conservatism means. It explains basic conservative principles, the reasons conservatives stand for them, and how they apply to challenges our country faces. We live in a time when many Americans feel uncertain about the future. They worry about jobs and the economy. They worry about whether the next generation will have a standard of living as high as previous ones. Distrust of major political institutions runs deep. There are concerns about whether the country is on the right path, and even if it might be in decline. Conservative principles speak to these problems. The United States was founded on conservative principles, and they helped America become a great and strong nation. They can help keep it strong for generations to come. For that to happen, each generation must pass those principles on to the next. Each generation has to offer clear explanations of certain ideas and values to young people as they reach adulthood. That responsibility has much to do with whether the next generation's future is dim or bright. The idea for this book grew from questions a smart teenager asked her dad, one of the book's co-authors, John Cribb. The questions came during their drives to school while listening to Bill Bennett's Morning in America, the conservative talk radio show hosted by this book's other co-author. Questions like, why do terrorists want to kill Americans? And, what do you think about global warming? And, why shouldn't rich people pay all the taxes? And this one, exactly what is a conservative anyway? They're the kind of questions some bright young people start to ask when they're in high school or college, or perhaps when they start to vote or get their first full-time job. Questions they ask when they begin to realize that events in the news really do affect them, their family, their friends, and their country. What is a conservative? This book answers that question, and more than 100 others, about issues ranging from immigration to illegal drugs. It examines issues from a conservative standpoint and explains why conservative ideas are good for our country. If you are a young person just beginning to pay attention to current affairs and politics, there are a couple of things you should know. We hope that conservatives who have the next generation's best interests in mind can use this book to help supply some answers. There's an old saying that if you're not a liberal when you're 25, you have no heart, and if you're not a conservative by 35, you have no brain. In other words, liberal ideals often appeal to the passions and enthusiasm of youth, but wisdom and experience eventually lead people to become more conservative. There is some truth to that, but it's also true that many young Americans are conservative by nature and upbringing, at least in some respects. And it's not always easy for them to face the onslaught of cues from the popular culture telling them that being conservative is backward and wrong. This book provides some armor for their intellect. It supplies, we hope, reinforcement for conservative beliefs and clear rationales for taking a conservative stance. When people have a good understanding of their own beliefs, they feel more confident sticking up for them when challenged. This book can help conservatives make their arguments with candor, intelligence, and goodwill. In this book, you may realize that you are conservative about some issues and not particularly conservative about others. Or you may come to the conclusion that you are not conservative at all. That's fine. There's lots of room for differing views in this country. You may not agree with conservative viewpoints, but you should at least know what they are. We hope that in thinking about the principles discussed here, you find much that appeals to common sense. On a personal level, conservative philosophy is rooted in solid, lasting values that can help you live a good life, one that does good for others. On a political and social level, those values can help your community, state, and country be better places. We also hope this book helps you understand that conservatives are not people who are stuck in the past. Like this country's founders, conservatives have deep respect for the past and what we can learn from it, but they also welcome new ideas that make good sense. We believe this country's best days are ahead, but we need to refocus on some values and principles that have made it great. As the Declaration of Independence says, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that we restate those principles from time to time. In the hearts and hands of the next generation, they will help our nation